Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the eighth edition of the Forward Pass Pod. We've got myself, Luke Duska, Caleb Archer, and Sam Perry doing our Week 4 recap. The first game I want to start with, the implosion in South Carolina, Sam's former state. You could have voted there, Sam, but the Clemson Tigers did it again. They did it once again. As Josh Pate said, and he had just great forward-thinking ability. Steve Angeli was the better quarterback in this game. And I said last week we won't talk about Clemson until the Florida State game, barring that they don't lose another ACC play game. And what do you know? Death Valley at home. They get skull drug. They have 60 passing attempts. And Adam Randall was their only rusher of the football. They literally only handed it to him. So they have one back. Bryant Wesco Jr. is the only. I mean, actually, their receiving core, they kind of got active just because you threw 60 times. But Fran Brown and the fellas, former Georgia Bulldog, he might be not at Syracuse next year. Shout out to upstate New York, though. Big win for those guys.
I guess I'll start. Just a horrendous effort from Clemson yet again. The fold us a third straight week. I checked really a fourth, honestly. I'm just gonna talk a little bit about their future schedule. They have one win right now, and you have to get the 5 wins for bowl eligibility. I'm not sure this is even like a guaranteed bowl team. You go to North Carolina in next week, which is just the corpse of North Carolina. That's a win. I would give them that. BC, if you're playing like you are now and you're going up to Chestnut Hill, that is not a gimme by any means because Boston College is better than Syracuse. You play SMU. SMU's down. They could beat you. Duke could beat you. You saw it 2 years ago. They killed you. You play Florida State at home. You go at Louisville on a Friday night. You play Furman. You play at South Carolina. Where are the 5 more wins from a team that we all were idiots and said they were going to win the ACC? Where
Oh,
are their 5 wins to even make the Talladega Bowl or like
the Quicken
the
Loans Bowl.
Music City Bowl? Like, yeah, the Armed Forces Bowl. You
Tax
don't see the
Slayer
wins
Gator
here.
Bowl.
Ooh,
Yeah,
That's a
you
nice.
good
just don't.
bowl.
The
This
the
is a great name.
Gasparilla Bowl.
I like the Outback Steakhouse Bowl the best when that was a thing.
Yeah. So I just don't like. I'm just say right now, I don't see 5 more wins on their schedule. I think they're probably going to go like this is rock bottom. I think 4-8 is pretty likely. 5-7 is like I don't see 5 more wins.
Okay, then I guess the next question is like, dude, if you win 4 games at Clemson with all those resources and all that money, like, is your job
Yeah, all right,
done?
I have this for us. So Dabo's buyout, like if there's Clemson fan listeners that are big Dabo people, like relax a little bit. Because first off, Dabo's buyout, if they were to fire him at the end of this year, would be $57 million. The other thing about this contract is they do not have an offset clause written into his contract, which were to mean Dabo would get hired in 1 second wherever he would want to go, basically. No matter how much someone's paying Dabo, that money does not offset in the buyout. So Clemson has to pay him the $60 million dollars regardless of if he takes a job or not. So they would essentially be paying him throughout the rest of the term of the deal until 2031, I believe, because he signed a 10-year deal in 21. So they would be paying him out $60 million dollars in the next, what is that, 6 years, which is not going to happen. They don't have the money to pay him and pay someone else. So I don't think Dabo is going anywhere right now. And I think it's insane that you don't have an offset clause in a contract in a 10-year deal in the current state of college athletics. I think that's just insane. So I do not think he'll be fired or go anywhere, regardless of the outcome of this season. And that's Clemson's own fault. So unless they want someone to pony up, then he is not going anywhere.
I mean, I could see why the Clemson administration didn't really think it'd be an issue, like not adding specific clauses to that. Well, how could you have ever expected it to get this bad? But I think the biggest issue with Dabo is the self-awareness at this point too. Having a press conference like he did last week where he was talking about all the success he's had and not really taking accountability for some of the steep drop off they've experienced over the last 5 years is it's going to start with him recognizing that and admitting that internally they're doing stuff the wrong way, and the result on the field is a byproduct of that. I found this tweet from Graham Coffey. It breaks down Clemson's records. It was 2015 to 2020, and then after 2021, when UGA and Clemson played, they called it the tipping point. So Clemson 2015 to 2020, they were 81-7, 23-5 versus ranked teams, 6 college football playoff appearances, 2 national titles, and their average final ranking was 2.1. Since the UGA Clemson 2021 game, they're 41-17, 9-9 versus ranked teams. And a lot of those ranked wins, too, you have to think are like ACC teams that are ranked that probably
But they
shouldn't
rank
be.
for TV.
Exactly. One college football playoff appearance. It was last year as the 12 seed and average final finish of 15.2. Not to mention all of the issues they've been having with recruiting over the last couple of years, too. Just overall, it's going to start with Dabo. And then if he's able to recognize some of the wrongdoings, then I would give him another chance just because of what he's done. But they're definitely in a bad place right now.
What an unfortunate year for South Carolina to not be at the top of their game where they could almost kind of flip how things are going inside the state. So that's another sad outcome of this for the
When he
Gamecocks.
and also Duska, that is directly correlated with portal usage in the 2018 and 2019
And
season.
NIL.
Yeah,
Yep.
1,500 FBS players were in the portal. That number is now almost doubled to 2,700. So direct correlation as well as NIL. I wonder NIL's probably in the same type of realm. So like not adjusting with the times, like it is kind of it's pretty evident. And I do want to talk about this for a second. Like, dude, we were so wrong on Clemson.
Oh,
We were
And
so
so was
wrong.
everybody. Like who predicted this?
Yeah.
nobody.
They're the Florida State of this year.
100%. Except there's no like, oh, we're just gonna infuse portal talent next year and we'll
Yeah,
regress to the mean. Like I
yeah.
can't
I
see
guess
them going heavy on the portal even after this year.
yeah. Florida State, I guess, was different because there was some skeptics to them because I mean you brought in all these portal guys again, but it was a bunch of two deep guys on like Bama and some other
Hmm.
schools. So it's really like Clemson. You had all this returning production, and then yeah, like that's why I think that the bottom really could be falling out. Like FSU after they lost to Tech last year, it wasn't like they're going 2-10, but then it was week after week. You're like, wow, this team is like they're
Dang.
they're, they're getting worse. Like they're getting even worse. And I don't see that stopping. I think maybe they get right games in Chapel Hill, and then
But
I
hey
mean,
guys, guess where they open up next year in 2026?
it's do they go to LSU?
Death Valley at LSU.
Probably gonna have a new quarterback, unless Cade staying for his masters or something. He
Yeah.
might have to after this year.
Yeah. The whole they really need like 15 portal additions. Like in which that probably won't happen. But wow, I can't believe how wrong we were all. Everybody was like, I think we were all in love with the fantasy of like if it could work this way. Like, oh, it'd be awesome if you didn't have to use the portal.
A
And that's
returning
like,
production trap too.
yes, yes. And it's like if I can play basketball with both hands and then I willingly stuck one hand behind my back and taped it to myself and was like, I can still beat you in this basketball game, like that's kind of what they're being asked to do. But I had them in my national championship, losing to it. I don't. Somebody else in the pod, it'll go unnamed. I'll have them as their national champion.
No
But
need to mention who
yeah,
did that.
that was whatever.
We'll just move on. We're
Uh,
doing like mid-season predictions, right?
yeah, that
Yeah.
the midseason predictions, ACC predictions will hit like crack. Um,
When the first playoff ranking gets posted, we'll do another one.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
We'll
I
do
need to
another
redeem
one.
myself.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Saw the board like Ray Charles.
Yeah.
The ACC board at least. But the next game we'll get into is the Michigan-Nebraska game. This game was 30-27. Nebraska completed a Hail Mary at the end of the first half. This game, the score looks a little bit closer than it actually was. I came on the podcast last week and was like, Michigan may have a huge front advantage, their front seven and their offensive line against Nebraska's offensive line and front seven. That came to fruition. They had 9.1 yards per carry, 286 rushing yards. and that's without sack yardage. Defensively, they sacked Raiola 7 times and held Nebraska under 50 yards rushing. Um, so the trenches mismatch played out. Dylan Raiola actually kept them in the game. He had 308 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, a pick. Um, but yeah, Nebraska after this game is 107th in rushing, and they've now given up 200 rushing yards to both Cincinnati and Michigan. And you just cannot be a serious Big Ten contender or contender at the at-large playoff if you're outside of the top 60. I mean, that's generous in rushing defense. So yeah, 107th in rushing defense, not going to get it done. Um, I thought this is kind of how we had a couple games that played out not how we thought they would. This was one of the games the podcast was kind of spot on.
Not me, but
Some.
Yep. I remember I said that I thought it was going to be a little more high scoring because I thought there was going to be some shot play potentials, and I thought for Michigan's rushing attack. I mean, I've never seen a running back like Justice Haynes that from his team zone 25 just repeatedly gets 75-yard just touchdowns like once a game, sometimes
Yeah.
even twice. He's a difference maker. I'm sure Bama's wishing they had him right now, but they shoot him off. So, but he had an awesome game. This is probably one of the more entertaining games of the day, I think. The late slate was pretty bad. Start was pretty bad. So I think this was probably the most interesting game of the day for me.
yeah, I liked what you hear. You saw this a lot online and listening to some stuff today, but how Biff kind of went into the locker room at half and was like, "We are just beating the shit out of them. We're gonna keep beating the shit out of them, and we're gonna just dominate them." I think you kind of saw that. Like any rational viewer would have seen that this game should not have been tied at half. Michigan just had such an advantage with the line of scrimmage, both of them. And the sad thing about Nebraska is like they finally have good offense, but now their defense is terrible. And it seems like they can never get everything right. And until they do, they're in trouble. And the year three Matt rule does not seem to be coming into fruition. So, but now Michigan kind of is all go here the rest of the way. Nothing, they should probably be favored in every game here on out, I'd assume, setting up for what could be a really good Ohio State game.
Yeah, the thing that stood out to me about Michigan in this game, at least, was so in the fourth quarter, the score was 27-20, and they started a drive. I don't know what yard line they were at, but there was 12:29 remaining on the clock. Okay, they started at the Michigan 20. And over a 16 play drive, they were able to drive it down all the way to the Nebraska 5. They didn't punch it in, but they kicked a field goal, which made it a two-score game with 3:54 remaining. So they took almost 10 minutes off the game clock, just first down after first down, pounding the pill all game. That kind of personifies what the potential of this Michigan team is. There's definitely still some things to be desired in the passing game, but I just think that'll get better and better as the year goes on. But that right there is the Michigan identity, and they're able to execute that against basically every Big Ten team and basically any team they play. Definitely tough loss for Nebraska. The offense is just boom or bust when they can't run the ball at all and they're just relying on Rayola the whole time. Like they'll make some big plays. The Hail Mary was really lucky, but going 2 for 13 on third down is definitely not a recipe for success. And them losing this game, I think I was looking at it like there was kind of a 5 to 6 team pack that was vying for that fourth Big Ten playoff spot. To me, it was Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, Washington, USC, and Nebraska. So I think after last week, they kind of find themselves on the outside looking in when it comes to that fourth Big Ten spot, especially with how Indiana played with Michigan winning this game. So tough loss for them. Like you guys were saying, year three, Matt Rule,
The rule
kind of
rule.
expecting a little more. Yeah, but just a shame they lost this one at home. Awesome win for Michigan, though. Playoff hopes are still alive.
Yeah, how do
Excited to
you
see how
feel?
this team
How do you
develops.
feel? You've been carrying water for Michigan all year. Yeah, how do you feel?
I think it's definitely a huge win. This was definitely one they were going to need if they were going to make the playoffs. They have a 2 week stretch coming up where they play at USC and Washington. They play in the Big House. So ask me after those games because that's going to be if they're able to win those games, no matter what the score is, it's kind of they're in a really good spot. So I'm excited. I'm excited about their ability to just impose their will on Big Ten teams, and I think that trend continues as they continue on their schedule. So I'm feeling good about that Michigan playoff pick.
I
I
couldn't
also
even.
like
Oh, you go.
I also like the way they're set up right now, and they're just allowing Underwood to slowly develop as the season goes on, and they're not making him do that much with this rushing attack. But when I think though, when it gets to November and in these real tight games where he's going to have to become a passer and make big time throws, he's going to be able to because he's been in that moment and not been asked to do that much. So when he's going to be asked to do a lot, it's not going to be this like insane thing because they're just slowly coddling him forward. Um, he's in a real position to succeed.
Great point, Sam. I couldn't imagine watching a Michigan football practice. Like that's got to be so cool. Like the pads got to pop at like just a different level than most college football programs. Um, Now going to another Big Ten game that the pod, especially Arch, was really on this one. Um, yeah, Kurt Signetti and the Indiana Hoosiers beat Illinois 63-10. And it's Kurt Signetti in his 12 home games. Indiana has a combined scoreline of 594 to 124. That's ridiculous. They just whoop people at home. It's unbelievable.
He smokes them
590,
through the filter.
literally 594 to 124. That's absolutely ridiculous. Mendoza was almost perfect, 21 for 23, 267 in the air, 5 TDs. Uh, Indiana outgained Illinois 312 to 2 on the ground. 312 to 2.
I wish that
Uh
was the worst one
That's
of the day.
insane.
312 to 2. That is like we're not how are we both playing the same sport?
They average .1 yards per carry.
Yeah, like that's unbelievable. We'll see what Indiana does because they have trips to Oregon and to Penn State on the schedule. So those are going to be like insanely testy games, but this gives me a lot of hope for Indiana. Illinois is not dead. They could beat USC this week and be kind of back on track and like that in what Duska, what you were talking about on that outside looking in playoff picture. But like, yeah, they basically have to win this week or else their playoff hopes are pretty much done. But yeah, they got embarrassed. Arch, what do you think about this?
I think it's definitely feels good. I mean, I had Indiana in my playoff simply because I thought they were going to be even better this year. Their schedule's a lot tougher, but I believed in the Signetti process. I also believed in Mendoza. I thought he was better than Rourke. And the whole entire pod thought the same. I mean, last week we mentioned Chuck. You went into a little deep dive with him. I think if he keeps playing like this, he'll probably be in the contention for QB1 in next year's draft. But awesome to see the all of our predictions come true, and we all predicted pretty big winners for them. So it was a horrible game to watch, but kind of funny to see it happen, though.
Yeah, for me, I remember talking about it in the preview last week. Illinois was definitely on fraud watch. After watching that Duke game, despite the final score, they kind of got dominated up front physically, which was a bad sign. And everything we kind of expected because of that came to fruition in this one. You mentioned the rushing stats and everything. They got dominated on defense as well. Um, obviously we talked about the rushing. I just wanted to shout out Mario Landino. He's from Macungie, PA.
Mm,
Keystone Baller, number
mm.
97. He had a good game. I think he had a couple sacks. And yeah, just we expected Indiana kind of a smash spot here. I don't know if anyone expected the score to look like that, but I kind of love that Sig will just run it up on teams and he doesn't really care what anyone thinks about him at this point. So awesome game for Indiana.
Yeah, I mean, this Indiana team is, I just think, so much better than last year, and especially Mendoza. And I think, unfortunately, with the falling of Mateer, Mendoza could have a couple more. He has the spots on their schedule to really emerge as the Heisman here down the stretch. So something to keep an eye on too. But great win for Indiana. Shout out to our boys, Huddy and Eli. Good win, guys, and congrats.
Question for you guys. Obviously, I mean, I don't want to overreact to one game, but I think after a performance like this, the question should be begged. Would you consider Indiana? I mean, they have to play more teams, but would you consider them more in the Oregon, Penn State, Ohio State realm, or do you still think they're kind of in that next tier with all the teams we talked about before?
they're Michigan to me. Like them and Michigan are like I need to see more. They also just they haven't built up the like sustained credibility of those other three programs for like the longevity, but they're to me like they're in the top. Like if I was ranking them, now I do think Washington, nobody's just seen them this year. So like I think Washington, we're gonna talk about them later in the pod, but I would say of that second tier, like Michigan, Indiana, Washington, USC, and then Illinois and Nebraska. I never believed in them anyway. I think they're a tier three. So I think tier four is only I mean tier two is only four teams.
Yeah. I mean, I just think that the playoff loss and how the Ohio State game went last year is too fresh in people's minds for them to put them in that echelon. But like, here's another problem with the AP poll. Like, in if you blind resumes, Indiana has such a better resume than Penn State. But
That's neither here nor there.
I can't wait to watch Penn State play a big game. I know
Holy,
we're going to talk about it, but
they better get that. They better run.
oh,
If they
I
don't
can't
win,
wait for that
State
game.
College like is literally going to fall. Like
I mean, we don't have to get into it yet, but I assume a lot of you or all of you guys are
you know
leaning
where I'm
Oregon as
going.
well. Yeah.
dude, one of me and Perry's like favorite pastimes in like middle school and early high school was on a Saturday night. Like we would literally be in
Shout out Matt Lennon.
shout out Mount Lennon. We would be in Perry's basement rooting like we had never root for our own teams.
Rooted like we had $1
Just
million on the
like
game.
literally hate watching Penn State. And it was so much fun to hate watch Penn State. And very rarely did they ever lose because like you're hate watching and cheering for Iowa or like you're hate watching and cheering for Maryland. So like you don't have much of a chance, but like gosh, it was so fun. Like
I can't wait.
I still think I have a soft spot for like the Iowa football program because like I was such a pseudo fan every time they played Penn State. And like me and Sam would literally be
I
like,
remember being like pissed when
yes,
Penn State like walked it off against Iowa
like
at Iowa. Like mad.
like guac and chips like deleting all game as you're just watching Penn
Whenever
State.
my mom, probably some kettle cooked giant
Oh,
eagle chips,
yes.
whatever we had in the pantry.
No doubt. No doubt. So that's like one of my favorite memories. So like I can't wait to hate watch them yet again. But we'll get into that. Arch, you have something to say?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's weird. As a kid, I used to hate Ohio State. So I remember when Penn State blocked Ohio State's field goal and took it back and won the game. I was like happy, and now I see what monster I created by letting them have any like ounce of success. Because once their fans tasted it, they ran with it, and so did media. So I wish I could go back, but
Potentially the most delusional fan base
Yes.
in college football.
No
No
doubt.
offense to any listeners that are Penn
No
State
doubt,
fans.
but I
No
will-
offense. No, there is offense to all of our
But you
listeners.
guys should
All
also
offense.
if you're a Penn State
Offense
fan, like
was
you should
meant.
recognize like you guys have won nothing and act like big dog.
I genuinely think Indiana. I didn't give my take. I think Indiana and Penn State are in the same caliber of team.
Ooh, I love that.
I'm saying like for the last like 3 years, I don't care if Penn State made the playoffs. You beat two teams you were like double-digit favorites over. If you compare the same thing, like lost to the only teams you were like you shouldn't like lost to the only teams that were like really good, beat all the other teams. That was literally Indiana last year, and that's not derogatory towards Indiana. You were just outmatched when you played Ohio State, Notre Dame. Same thing with Penn State, like, and they're better than Indiana. So they actually have no excuse. But
Last year they had no
that's
excuse.
my take on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get into it more later.
Yeah, we'll get it. Oh, I just wanted a quick shout out here. One of our like listeners that I know he listens every time is my cousin Luke Bowser, and he's like he's a
I see him in the comments all the time.
He's always active.
Dude, he's
Shout out,
always
Luke.
active. He's a great pod listener. He's always texting me with his takes. Like they usually bend towards Penn State, like absolute Penn State homer. But a good Penn State fan, I will say, like they are diehard, like a SEC type of fan. Like I respect them, I just don't like them. So I just wanted to put that out there. Most of the Penn State fans, like I have very little respect. But
Just to make
And
this
we
an
don't-
accountability first podcast, he did comment that Illinois was going to win last week. I remember seeing that.
he did.
I
he did.
remember seeing that
But
comment and just like laughing.
He
I'm
texted
sure you're a
me.
great guy, Luke. Great first name.
Yeah, he did text. He was 1-1 just like I was 1-1 because he also called me out. He was like, I think you're over. He before the game he said, I think you're overthinking the Texas Tech Utah thing. Like Utah's just not as good as Texas Tech, and he was right with that. So I do want to give him credit. Like,
Segue, Charlie. You're
Good.
getting
Yeah.
good at this.
Yeah. Props to him. And yeah, with that, all I gotta say is Will fucking Hammond, the freshman backup, comes into the game and takes it over. Now this game, this Texas Tech Utah game, the final score was 38-10, 10 a.m. kickoff local time in Utah. So that looks like a absolute slaughtering. And although it ended up being that, it was 10-3 going into the fourth quarter, and then with like 10 minutes left in the fourth, it's 13-10. So closer game than the final score indicates. But it was just not a good day for Utah's offense. I thought Devin Dampier, we were going to come out of this game and people were going to know Devin Dampier's name. He finished with 4 yards per attempt. Um,
Well, I think they know his name, but
yeah,
not in a good
not in
way.
the good way. Yeah, just the downfield passing attack
Derogatory
was,
name knowing.
yeah. As, but the name you come out of this was also not Morton, the Texas Tech starter. It is Will Hammond, who was just a baller. So shout out Will Hammond. He led the Texas Tech Raiders, the Red Raiders, J.C. Miller, the second Red Raiders, 9 for 17 on third down, outrushed Utah by 70, and then outthrew them by 150. So I mean, one offense, Utah's defense, they hung in there. They hung in there. Whittingham's guys kept giving the offense a chance, to no avail. To no avail. And this is a big separator for the Big Ten. This for the Big 12. This is a Texas Tech. Right now, you are in your own clear echelon. What say you guys about that statement and at the game as a whole?
Yeah, I know we
I
talk about loot.
Go ahead, Sam.
Okay, sorry. I know we talk about losers first, but I do credit Texas Tech's defense. I was really impressed by.
Dude.
I said that I just kept watching. Like, just seemed like Utah when they weren't able to run the ball, they were running a lot of screens, and Texas Tech's perimeter tackling was so good.
Oh,
Like just so, it was so fun to watch their defense just completely stifle Utah. I thought the crowd was awesome. 10 a.m. kick. That has to be kind of fun, honestly. But like not a whole lot to take away from this game other than I think Texas Tech has separated themselves as the class of the Big 12. And we will get into this later, but it's going to be fun to see them and TCU and Arizona State duke it out. But we'll see a little bit more of a separator on Friday night, little appetizer for the weekend.
I think Utah, the physicality they displayed in their first three games was probably just a little overrated based off of the competition they played against. When you see them do what they did to a UCLA squad, initially your thoughts obviously going to be, wow, this team's different, but UCLA turned out to be a little bit more discombobulated, a little worse than expected, even though I don't think expectations were too high. But yeah, the physicality just didn't really translate over in this one once they started playing against uh, player profiles that Texas Tech has. I wanted to shout out Jacob Rodriguez, Texas Tech linebacker, number 10. Thought he played a really great game. They also did a feature on him before the game, and his wife is a Blackhawk chopper pilot for the Army, which I thought was really
Martinez
sick.
respect.
Yeah, that was really cool. But he played a great game, looks really solid. And yeah, Texas Tech, super sloppy early, both sides were, but I think they were able to settle it down a lot and run the ball a little bit more effectively in that second half. And like you guys were saying, they've established themselves cream of the crop of the Big 12. Just need them to play it out all the way to Dallas, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I was wrong. This sucks. It really sucks. I thought Utah was like the tier above them. I think biggest storyline of the game was that Texas Tech had the two best passing quarterbacks in the game. Dampier, now it comes out that he was injured all week. I don't know if you've seen that. He didn't practice at all till Thursday. You could definitely tell. He had an ankle injury. Wasn't on the injury reports or anything like that. So shout out Kyle Whittingham for doing it. Yet another year. Cam Rising last year. Dampier this year. I think honestly the player of the game I would shout out or core of the game is Texas Tech's receivers were so much better than anything that Utah trotted out there. I mean, Utah thought they were Travis Hunter having the number 23 out there at safety and or corner and receiver. This terrible.
a
Their
lot of
receivers
lot
every
of
single
white on
big
the
third
receiver.
down.
A lot of
Yeah,
white
just
on the
like
receiver, which
yeah.
I love the white receiver, but
The guy's a good player,
There
though.
was no difference
The
maker
two-way
in
guy.
Texas Tech's receivers.
yeah, he
Just
was good. He was good.
yeah.
I'm not saying they're bad.
Next,
It's just like they
yeah.
weren't Texas Tech. they kind of looked like they had a lot
The
better.
thing was Texas
100%.
Tech's
Yeah.
receivers made the plays for the quarter. Like when Will Hammond was in, there was like 3 3rd and 15, 3 3rd and 10 15s, and they would just snag it out of the air. And then you go to Utah's receiver and Dan Pierce throwing probably could have been a little better, and the receiver is backpedaling and flipping his hips and falls, and then doesn't catch the ball. And that would have changed the game because they would have caught it, and he probably would have scored. And at that point, I believe they would have been winning, because this is the start of the fourth. Also think one of the worst plays of the game was Utah getting that touchdown called back because of Fanu. Oh my, this being downfield, for 4 yards, but yeah, not a good showing. I don't think Utah is dead by any means. I think this is a bad game for them where once they couldn't get out of their own way. I mean, 2 fumbles in the first half, like I think back-to-back drives, but. Yeah, Texas Tech definitely surprised me. Their trench play is so much better than I thought they were. I think they kind of whooped Utah's O-line for most of the game. So um, it'll be interesting. It'll be an interesting down the stretch in the Big 12 for sure.
One thing Sam said, dude, Jacob Rodriguez, number 10, their linebacker, like all over the field. So impressive tackling. Great. Thanks for pointing that out, Perry. With that, we'll move on to the next game we had, which was Oklahoma versus Auburn. Auburn let up 10 sacks. That's completely egregious. Completely egregious, and like that's pretty much all. Like that's all you have to say about the game. Jackson Arnold, like he battled. Um, do any of you guys have a great feel on this? Because I just saw 10 sacks and then watched the highlights. I was like, yeah, I mean, what are you supposed to do?
I thought the game was a lot closer than the score. Auburn, without a doubt, got hosed on 2 calls. I think the illegal substitution play that gave Oklahoma the touchdown, and then the PI on on a pass to Cam Coleman. I believe it was like a double pass in the 4th or 3rd quarter. Those are like difference maker plays, but I mean, I don't think they lost because of those. I thought the game was. I thought Auburn held their own. Their offensive line, their tackle play is just not up to par with the edges of Oklahoma, and Arnold is just he caused some of those sacks too by just holding onto the ball and freezing. Like the one where the guy like literally jumps like this and like collapses on his back. He's just standing still in the pocket for
Yeah,
like
one
4
one thing
seconds.
about sacks is it's not just an O-line statistic.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a quarterback, it's a team statistic sacks.
also one of the worst endings ever for
Mm.
the fellas that were holding the +6.5 tickets. That's something you're never going to forget in a bad way. So brutal.
Did that have like a bad effect for the Arch Madness Substack?
No, we were profitable last week. We were
Got you.
measly 3 units. Could have been better. But I also got some good breaks, so I'll take it in Temple. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good game. I thought Auburn actually played fine. I was impressed with them, but I also thought Oklahoma's defense is just that good. I wasn't even paying attention. I didn't have the volume on for that, so I didn't get to hear what was going on with that illegal substitution play. I didn't even really know that that happened until after the game, and read a little bit more about that, which sucks. But yeah, I thought Arnold, the difference, because I got to watch Arnold play and then Purbuella, and they're pretty similar styles of quarterback. And I thought that the difference between Purbuella and Arnold and what Arnold wasn't able to do was get the ball out of his hands, whether just throwing the ball away. So, yeah, I mean, Auburn's got another chance this week, though, to right the ship and get back on track. But yeah, it was a good game. Oklahoma's really good. Sad that Mateer is going to be out for Red River, though.
Yeah, Auburn, it was just the offense is going to be limited if you're not able to establish the run, especially against a defense the caliber of Oklahoma, who for the second time we've seen them shut down teams that they make their money and they identify as teams that want to be able to run the ball and control the game up front. Oklahoma shuts another team like that down. I think one thing for Oklahoma going forward, now that Mateer's hurt, is that they're very reliant on John Mateer. He was their leading rusher again. Their primary running back, Torrey Blaylock, he only ran it for 13 yards on 11 carries. Like they're really struggling to find any sort of consistency on the ground, which is going to make their offense really boomer bust, especially without Mateer. So they've been able to rely on their defense a lot in winning these two big games, but that's definitely going to be a big factor going forward as they get a little more stout SEC competition. And if that if they're not able to find any consistency and they keep struggling on the ground, then even with Mateer in games, they're not going to be able to beat these bigger teams unless their defense is just, which it could be at this point, is just otherworldly and is able to just shut down any team they play.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what is good with Ott?
He's bad. He's not playing the defenses that he played in 2024 or 2023 at Cal when he was a freshman.
I mean, yeah, I don't have the exact answer for that. All I do know is like they are 101st in rush yards per game. Just
The
like
Michael Hawkins experience is back.
what's he up to there?
He's going to be their
Oh,
quarterback
he's
now.
starting. Yeah, lost to
Yeah,
Navy in a bowl game.
yeah. That's
Okay.
the kind of guy you want leading into the Red River
I
rivalry.
don't mind Hawkins though. I actually think he's kind of good. I don't mind that.
Yeah,
I
I
think
don't
it'll be
think
interesting
that's
to
going to
see
be
in the
that.
Arbuckle system.
Yeah,
Definitely better than whoever they had last year.
yeah. I don't mind it. What were you saying, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, they can just kind of just turn these games into 13-10 dogfights with Hawkins and just let him become the other running back.
Yeah.
That's what I think is going to happen.
There's definitely a path to that.
My
Maybe he's a little better this year too.
But like also Mateer is going to come back. It seems like he's going to be out until at least the South Carolina game, which is October 18th, something along those lines, which would be just around that recovery time they're predicting. So it's either that or after that. But it does not
So
look like he's going to play in Red River, which is the only other meaningful game they have.
and the Texas offense, so he'll miss Kent State. That's fine. But the Texas offense, just based off how they looked in week one and how they've looked subsequently over the last few weeks, that could definitely be the type of game where it's 13-10 and Oklahoma just finds a way by shutting down the Texas offense. So it's good that he's not out for too long. But even so, they need to find something on the ground, even when Mateer plays. That it's not very sustainable winning games like that, unless it's just a
And also, like, are
generational
we sure
defense.
it's going to take only a month for a broken hand that needs surgery?
No. My thinking is that if they lose to Texas and they lose to South Carolina, you could see Mateer, like if it's like there's no point at that point. I feel like even with like if his injury is taking longer and the Oklahoma is struggling without him, I could see him not coming back at all.
He doesn't have
Like it's
Oklahoma
Really?
in
because
him.
yeah, like I could see that in the sense of just like being safe because a hand injury it could go one of two ways. It could be awesome or it could go like really bad. And then when they do surgery, I believe surgery's tomorrow, they find out it's like even worse. And there's also complications with it. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see how they do without him though.
um another Big 12 game, Baylor ASU. 27-24. Arizona State wins on a last second field goal. It was a great game. We got kind of what we expected. In the preview segment, I mentioned that Arizona State has a really good run game, and I thought they could exploit a Baylor's average run defense that's ranked outside the top 100. And that's how this game played out. 179 rush yards to 107 rush yards, so almost 70 more rush yards. But the really big stat is it led to a 36 minutes and 24-second time of possession for Arizona State and only a 24-minute time of possession for Baylor. So a 13 more minutes of possession for Arizona State, and I thought that was kind of evident in the way the game went. Sawyer Robertson was awesome, but he was trying to he had to just play keep up, and every possession it counted so much for that Baylor offense. And at the end of the day, Sam Levitt played pretty well, which Arizona State's going to need them to do if they're going to make a run at this Big 12 title. But he made some crucial throws. He made big plays with his legs. His legs have kept as he's been slowly getting better throughout the season, especially this game where he looked good. his legs have been hugely impactful because he's always going to be a threat, even if he doesn't have it that day throwing the football. But he did have it that day throwing the football. So I thought overall, it's tough for Baylor. Baylor's actually a good football team. I feel bad for Dave Aranda. Like he has his guys playing really hard. They tackle well. They have good quarter. They tackle for a Big 12 team. They tackle well. Um, they have good quarterback play. They've got decent receivers. They have a running back that I like, and they are a two-loss team. And I don't know how many more they lose in the Big 12, but a couple. There's some frisky games they still have on the schedule. So, what does anybody have to say about this? Do you think Arizona State kind of solidified themselves in that tier with Utah, like maybe tier two of the Big 12, or do we have other opinions on that?
I think this game could have easily gone Baylor's way. I think it was unfortunate that they turned the ball over a couple times. The offense was really good. They were really efficient on third and fourth down. They were combined 7 for 15. And Sawyer Robertson just continues to impress in every game. And the Baylor offense is they're just flat out good. They can run the ball too. They ran it pretty effectively in this one. I thought this was a nice bounce back game for Sam Levitt. They definitely were able to establish the run. They didn't run it crazy well. They were the once 179 yards were on 48 carries, but they definitely stayed committed to the run game. And this kind of allowed them to be more aggressive on play action. I thought Levitt was taking some shots down the field, which I liked. They didn't necessarily connect on a bunch, but they drew a few pass interferences and connected on a couple. So they made timely plays when it mattered, were able to capitalize with points off the turnovers and just played a pretty clean game overall. So good win for them. I think you're pretty spot on with Texas Tech being solidified as the favorite for sure, but Arizona State is definitely still frisky. They have the championship pedigree from last year. So I would if I was Texas Tech, this would be probably the team I'd be most concerned with going up against.
Yeah, kind of what you said, Duska. It's tough to win a game when you lose the turnover battle 3-0, especially against a well-coached and opportunistic team like Arizona State is. Also, looking at when you're penalized for 86 yards, it also doesn't help in a pretty close game. So credit to Arizona State though, very solid win. They have a massive game this weekend that is going to give someone the front edge on the track in the Big 12 race because if you remember, Arizona State's lost out of conference, so it doesn't count towards Big 12. But good win for Arizona State. It's kind of sad to see the crowd was pretty empty at the top towards the end of the game. I don't know if you guys noticed that. Um, I saw that on the video of the Arizona State guy humping the logo. So that was good. But yeah, not a whole lot, but good win for Arizona State.
Yeah, lower scoring than I thought it would be. I thought both defenses actually played pretty well comparatively to what at least what I was expecting. Good bounce back for Arizona State. Unfortunate for Baylor. This has been a Sawyer Robertson podcast the entire year, and he continues to amaze. Another really efficient day for him. Unfortunate interception, but I think these two teams are in that little tier two of the Big 12 that like you don't know, like you could just you could like simulate it 100 times and there would be a new team from that tier that actually emerges to tier one in the championship. But yeah, good win though for Arizona State away from home.
Yeah. And then last game that we have to talk about, but I don't really want to get too much into it, is Florida went into Miami and lost 26-7. Florida had 141 yards the entire game compared to Miami's 344. Lagway had 12 completions for 61 yards. At the first half, guess how many yards they Florida had at the first half?
It was like 35 or something, right? Around
32.
there.
32 with
Terrible.
guess how many first downs?
0.
One. So one first down, 32 yards in the first half. But a cool statistic, there's only three quarterbacks to ever beat Florida three times as the starter. It's Aaron Murray, Jake Fromm, Carson Beck.
Wait, can you repeat that? Jake who?
Jake Fromm.
Jake Fromm,
Jake Fromm.
Oh, Jake Fromm, State Farm. Yeah.
everyone's favorite insurance agent.
Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Thank you for the pronunciation. Did you know what I was saying, Sam?
Yes.
So why correct me?
Messing with you.
I'm kidding. Yeah. So those three guys, only guys to ever do it. Sam, what do you think about that? And because I know Arch is a Dogs fan, that just makes you gleefully happy.
Think about what, three
Just the
quarterbacks beating Florida or
just the
just the
game,
game?
the game.
Yeah,
You're
I
an SEC
had the
guy.
displeasure of being at a Florida bar for the Florida game
Ooh.
because they had South Carolina on the other TV. Um, yeah, I mean, there's really not much to say. Um, Florida is just abysmal on offense, helpless on offense. Miami's defense is incredible. I want to give them a little bit of credit. They did a good job of just kind of playing with their food for a little bit and then just destroying them at the end, just slowly choking them out like a helpless. But yeah, it's kind of like Clemson. Like, where do you go from here if you're Florida? Like, even though you had this challenging schedule, I think there was an expectation of all this talent and at least being competitive in these games where they like have just been completely lifeless on offense. So, I mean, I have a question for you guys. We kind of talked about this last week about the leash on Lagway, but like, do you think there's any internal conversations about moving on from Lagway?
I
I
mean,
think
he
at this
looks
point
horrible.
he looks
Hmm.
bad, but I think the coaching staff, as long as they're there, and maybe even higher up administration, they just who what other quarterback gives them a better opportunity to win? And it's probably I don't know if there's another guy in that building, so you just have to keep rolling Lagway out there, even though it's not really working out. But I think it's hard to
Yeah.
just bench him.
My favorite stat is that Miami had more rushing yards than Florida had total yards. Though I think it was they had 186 and Florida had something like 141. Um, and then just a beautiful 0 for 13 on third downs.
This
That's
was
miserable.
probably the worst football game I've watched in a while
In
because
the
Miami
rain
didn't even
too.
look sharp on offense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Beck had his occasional woes. Just a horrible game to watch. Florida is dead. If it wasn't evidence after last week, they are dead.
Yeah.
And there's no reviving them.
And then we're
Couple
gonna do. Oh, you go.
oh
You go.
sorry,
No,
I just
go.
want to highlight a couple of things. First of all, Miami in short yard situations is just it feels almost automatic. 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2.
Eagles like
Need
some would
yeah.
say.
Some have drawn that comparison before.
I wonder if
You
they
have
false start before the snap.
you have to get a yard or two, and it just feels like Miami's gonna come out on top of those situations every time. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, Sam mentioned the defense. I was watching Sunday Night Football the other night, and the Giants have two edge rushers, Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns, and they just line them up on both sides of the ball, and they just tee off on tackles all game, and it's pretty fun to watch. And this Miami team, they do the exact same thing. Akeem Mesidor, Ruben Bain, college tackles that don't have any NFL hopes or aspirations, they're in trouble when they play against these two. And it's literally just snap after snap, especially when a team gets behind the sticks. They get to just tee off on the other team's tackles. And you saw that in this game. It was pretty evident that they're able to generate pressure at will. One compliment I give to Florida is that their defense is pretty solid, but they're just getting nothing offensively, and this team just has no chance. Like Arch said, they're pretty done and dusted at this point.
I kind of want to see Ruben Bain kind of embrace you. You guys know Bane from Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen no. I was thinking about that watching the game because remember how um the Penn State edge from last year that the Giants Abdul Carter always had the Darth Vader shit on him.
Mhm.
I think it'd be kind of cool to see him just kind of embrace the Bane villain and just because he is so good. He should be the front runner for the Heisman right now. Um, it almost reminds me of watching, yeah, like you said, watching the Giants or yeah, oh, they're so fun. The Miami's defense is awesome. I'm so excited for next weekend's game.
it's like a little bit unsafe when you're playing tackle and like if you're it's like a young tackle, like maybe you're not as physically developed and you have to play Ruben Bain, like you're moving backwards as like this alien who's like so fast and so strong, like and he can just control you at will. Like that's why they edge rushers get paid in the NFL because they're just so important to football teams. And like if you have a good one, it's such a problem. And I'm sure Duska can
A
give more
pretty
of that.
helpless feeling when you're lined up for pass pro. You're just on an island against a guy, and they just have the upper hand on you, whether it's physically, mentally, whatever it is. If you've been in that situation before, it's pretty demoralizing, and you kind of just have to do what you can. Fire out of your stance, try to stay in a good position, but sometimes it feels inevitable, and that's got to be what it feels like when you play against Ruben Bain.
Sam, I like to shout on the Heisman. Although the the Heisman voters are way too corporate for that to happen. I like what you said. And also
He
one,
is the best player in the country.
yeah, no, I love it. I
True.
love it. And then Sam, give me a minute 30 seconds on your Cox going down in a tough one at Missouri.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I thought they played pretty well offensively. Like I thought Lenore's played awesome. There was that really bad sack on the goal line, but if you watch that play back, it's just absolutely not his fault. Granted, a pass play on the one. Talk to Seahawks fans. Quickly though, Missouri played awesome. I mean, the padlock stat of the game, I don't even really want to talk about the -9 rushing yards. I mean, we could not tackle Hardy. Perbula, we couldn't get to Perbula. Dylan Stewart is gone. He does not want to be a part of the team anymore. That was pretty evident by him running into the tunnel before they did the alma mater and just his attitude and non-effort during the game. But I think Lenore's was great and they can still win out and make the playoff. So we can move on.
Yeah, good
Shout
score
out
on that.
to Josiah Trotter, Philly
Oh
baller.
yeah, was it
He had a
11
really good game.
tackles?
Yeah, he had a good game for Mizzou.
I
Philly
also love
baller.
that little 4th and 8 short of the sticks. That was a good play call, Mike Shula. But there was some good play calls. Good, they had a couple nice screen plays and dial up the deep ball. Lenore's did some good throws. Receivers actually stepped up too.
Pretty helpless feeling as an offensive coordinator when so like your call sheet is like a lot all your pass plays and then all your run plays and usually like you're calling from both. But when you literally cannot run the football, like it's a pretty helpless feeling. Like the screens in quick game act as your run. It's not a good. Dude, you're asking a lot of your offensive coordinator to just dial it up all the time when you just can't run the ball. So
And yeah, that too. I forget the exact number, but I think South Carolina ranks like 113th in time of possession or something like stupid.
oh,
So
what do you think
tough times.
what do you think they rank in rushing offense?
Um, not like negative nothing. I
Oh
have
my
no
God.
idea.
No,
Dude,
Ray.
Like
holy
probably like
shit.
120,
Dude, worse.
Well,
100
157.
when you put up negative
There's
9 yards in a game,
136 FBS teams.
There's 136 FBS teams. They are
I'm gonna say they're
130th. They are
128.
oh
130.
brother,
130 in rushing yards a game. That is like, well, you can't win. I'm sorry.
Well, it's
That's
hard when you play a stout defensive line in South Carolina State,
I
like
mean,
they did in week
I'm
2.
looking at the matchup preview versus there when they play Kentucky. Kentucky's is 28th in the nation in rushing. Like, it's just like, come on.
Good.
Did
That'll be
those
a good,
rushing
nice
stats
get right
factor
game
in
for.
Faison getting the extra year?
It's not his fault. I mean, our O line is horrible.
Yeah.
No, I know. I just thought it was just sad.
Yeah. Yeah, just real sad.
So
And then
get right game against
Fabiola,
Kentucky, then we'll go
Fabiola,
into Death Valley.
Fabiola continuing to stir up the Drew Aller debate.
mm,
I'd say.
that's gonna be a juicy debate if Penn State adds a couple of L's to that column and Missouri's in like contention in the SEC. That'll get real
Ahmad
juicy.
Hardy is the best running back in America. That's my takeaway.
Yeah, I mean,
Dude, he was
Arch,
so good. Holy shit.
Arch,
Like,
you've been spot on. You've been carrying water for that guy.
How about the play
Yeah.
where it was like the first and goal play where
He gets lifted up and he's on top of the pile and decides he's like, oh wait, I'm not tackled, and just like
wait,
gets down and then runs. I
that
don't know
was
how they
insane.
didn't blow him dead for like forward progress because he didn't stop for like half a second. but he just like looks down and realizes that he's floating and then just runs in South Carolina. It's like, oh man,
Ridiculous.
dang man, he scored.
Whoops. Didn't get him to
Yeah.
the ground.
Last thing I want to mention just from the slate was we have a couple more things before we finish off, but shout out Malik Washington, true freshman quarterback at Maryland. Shout out Sam Perry. He was all in on Wisconsin being butt this year. What do you know? They lose to Maryland 27-10. Not that close of a game. They played 3 quarterbacks, so the quarterback plague at Wisconsin continues. And pretty cool that Maryland has an absolute dog at quarterback. That's pretty sick. He's the number 3 dual threat from the class of 2025, just for people that don't know who Malik Washington is. But he's damn good. He's averaging 260 pass yards a game. He's got 8 TDs and 1 pick. So, and his best game was this game against good like Wisconsin.
I think shout out to Trinidad Chambliss too. He looked really, really good. And definitely a conversation to be had about who should start a quarterback once Simmons is 100%.
Is it a conversation or is it
Not for me. I'd go with Chambliss.
exactly? That's what I think.
I think that it's different. I think you'll see this week when Chambliss plays LSU. If it was just a byproduct of playing Tulane and Arkansas. I think it'll be interesting. I don't know.
I believe in Chambliss. I think he's gonna play well.
I think he's better than him, but I just don't think just because he beats Tulane and Arkansas, they're not gonna consider Simmons.
But Simmons, he looked pretty spotty against Kentucky. Like he didn't.
Well, his decision making has been horrible this year.
Exactly.
Which is weird.
But that's like what you do as a quarterback. Like you literally just make decisions. Like actually, like that's literally what your job.
Like if they beat LSU, there's no way they can go to Simmons.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, but if he throws like 4 interceptions and he has
then we're wrong. Then I'm wrong. But I believe in my guy. We're gonna go super dog real quick. Michigan State covered, so I get on the board again. South Carolina covers. Perry, congrats, getting on the board. The Georgia State game got, I think, terrorism, and that they didn't finish one.
Well, the problem was the second quarter was an hour long because Vanderbilt scored 28 points in the second quarter. It was a pretty close game until then, and then they just blew it open.
They literally put up Danny hung 70 on Georgia State.
Yeah, but Georgia State scored like 30. Like I can't get a super dog right.
Arch's super dogs have just been.
I apologize for the people that have been betting Harvard.
I have people that are like that'll text me like we parlay your super dogs every week.
Oh, I love it.
I sent last week. I'm sorry. Yeah, you are 3 or 4.
Dude, the problem is, Arch, like you keep saying like you're gonna stop picking Ball Sack State, and then you just can't not pick.
Well, dude, my other pick I was gonna take was Western Michigan, and they played Toledo, and they literally beat them outright. And I was like,
bro, that was the one.
Yeah, but I don't know.
You can't help turning on a game that should be lopsided and like seeing if it'll stay close. Like you just can't help that.
I just don't know what I'm doing.
And then Luke went into the well a week after it was dry when Arch went into the well, and water came out. Just barely, but water came out.
Electric cover by Temple.
Yeah, Casey Keeler was almost on my shit list when they weren't calling any timeouts and they were just like walking down the field. But then with like a minute left, they started calling them. So that was a funny
Great
game.
teams cover. Go out.
Teams cover.
Yeah.
So Notre Dame line just moved.
Oh. That dude, I would really like to get to bed at a reasonable hour.
Yeah.
And so what I'm gonna do here is we're gonna hop right into the preview.
Do you want me to do the RB of the week?
When you do RB of the week, I gotta fill up my water.
Oh my gosh. How could we skip the greatest segment in all of college sports media?
All right, everybody, drum roll. This one, not a lot of good quarterback performances this year rushing the ball. It was definitely just who was like doing better. We have the honor to present this week's running back of the week to Mr. Brendan Lewis from the Memphis Tigers. If you didn't know, Memphis upset Arkansas this weekend, partly due to him. 16 carries, over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground, and he had carries that were explosive. No matter where they were on the field, he had 10-yard scrambles, 20-yard scrambles, 30-yard scrambles. I believe his long was about 38 to 40. Just an every down guy for Memphis. Really was carrying water for him on offense, and so just congratulations. In an otherwise stale week, you showed out. So congratulations, Mr. Lewis.
Mr. Lewis, good job. That was a great job. Um,
Big win for Memphis.
huge win. Huge win.
Sad for Arkansas, but
Dude.
they
I
can never
mean,
seem to catch a break.
Same movie, or no, different movie, same ending.
I like
Every time.
I like Taylor Green. I really do. But
I think he's really good.
yeah, I think he's really good too. But we were doing remember I did my SEC quarterback rankings and I had him in my top 10, but I think Pate did his and Taylor Green was 2. It's all right. Well,
He's actually a bad predictor and ranker of the sport,
I don't
despite
think
how
he's
much.
bad. I don't think he's bad. I think he has to do it so much that
Yeah, that's fair.
you just you just naturally get some stuff
That's
wrong.
fair.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think Taylor Green's really good, but yeah. I don't know. They not beating Memphis is tough. But
2 straight weeks losing when you're driving to score off of a fumble is just that's peak Arkansas.
yeah. I wonder what Memphis and Navy always play. I wonder if that game's going to be home or away for the mids.
I believe it's going to be at Memphis this year. I think last year was at Navy.
Oh, it's at Memphis. Yes. Yes, it's at Memphis. Uh uh Navy is first in rushing yards in the country with 375 a game, and they are 130th in passing yards with 114. So just yeah.
Sounds
Basically
about
like
right.
Memphis.
Michigan.
Yeah, Michigan, but we run the option, and Blake Horvath is our quarterback, not Bryce Underwood. So yeah, Arch,
Both running backs.
yeah,
Sorry. Go ahead.
Dude, I love it. I love it. Arch, great job on the running back of the week because I do think we might have educated the public on Mr. Lewis and his doings in a huge SEC upset. And Memphis is a sneaky tough place to play. If you ever seen that stadium, it's got a weird funnel at the top. It's a pretty cool place. It's that place gets rocking. They're one of underrated G5. I'm a little surprised they haven't went P5 or P4. They seem like if Cincinnati and SMU, I thought they were also in that type of realm. So
Well, especially for basketball too, you would think
yes,
that
yes,
It
yes.
kind of
they would
seemed
be
like they were
attractive.
trying to. There was just no takers.
Takers. Yeah, I wonder
I think they tried to go to the Big 12, and the Big 12 just gave them a middle
Yeah.
finger.
Which
Like,
is
because I
weird.
guess viewership wise, what they don't really attract any market.
yeah, Ohio's. I mean, the Cincy one was the one, but they were coming off the playoffs, so they had a little bit of equity. But Memphis has been a good G5 team for the past decade. So, yeah, I thought they were Houston except Houston's just in a bigger market. So
They don't really move. Yeah, they don't move the needle rating wise. So that's what I would
yeah, yeah,
be my guess.
yeah. Good guess. Good guess. You're probably very spot on that. This week we have bangers. This week we have absolute bangers. I just kind of want to go through what are you guys what game are you guys most intrigued about this week?
Outside of the two or the inside of the two?
No, any game. Any game. And you could pick two
Really
games
good.
there.
Penn State's definitely there's the most questions going into that. So I think that'll be I don't think it'll be the best game, but it'll be the most intriguing.
Yeah, I would. I'm not all right to not take that one. I think LSU Ole Miss, just based off the way that this kind of, I don't know, it just seems like, I guess with the Oklahoma injury, earlier this week, I felt like this game almost had playoff play-in um, feels just because Ole Miss has to go to Georgia and they tend to drop one. I think LSU hasn't really looked that great at all, and I don't like making wins look worse based on how a team's done after the loss, but that Clemson win holds a little bit less weight now, and they really haven't looked that good. So I'm going to go with that one as my most intriguing game. I would also, yeah,
Yeah. I'm actually gonna before, just for like so the viewers know, it'd be nice. We don't our production team is us, so we can't really get you a picture of the slate, but I can verbally give you the slate. At the 12 o'clock window, you've got USC going to Illinois, both ranked teams. I mean, Illinois is fraudulently ranked in my opinion, but ranked no less. Notre Dame is going to Arkansas, which probably would have been a better game had Arkansas not lost to Memphis, but that's still a tough task to go. They're less than a touchdown favorite going to Arkansas.
3.5.
Yeah, yeah. I thought four. Yeah, all right, 3.5. Sweet. Yeah. So and that's the noon window. The 3 o'clock, the 3:30 window is number 4 LSU going to Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a 1.5 point favorite. Um, a couple good storylines there we'll get into. Indiana is playing at Iowa, and they're only a 7.5 point favorite going to Iowa. Um, and if also in the 3:30 window, and then you also have Auburn at going to Texas A&M. And we've seen a lot of these teams so far. And Texas A&M is a 6.5 point favorite. At the nightcap, it's literally pandemonium. You've got the Ohio State Washington game that this podcast, I have a sneaky suspicion, might thinks this might be a better game than the public realizes. It started at 9.5, and it's already moved to 8.5 to spread. You've got Alabama, Georgia in a game that will just forever mean a ton. And like if Alabama were to get this game, like that the fan base would forgive all sins for the Florida State game. And then you have Oregon at Penn State, where if Penn State for the first time in a ranked like matchup of like top 10 teams is favored. They're 3.5 point favorites at Oregon. I mean and they get Oregon at home. In theory, this should be a spot where they win. So if they lose this game, there would be State College would be inflamed. So I just think that's the slate at large. Dustin kind of gave what he's excited for. Arch, what are you excited for? Obviously the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Ohio State going to Washington. Been a big Washington guy this year. Had him in the playoff. Excited to see what they do versus a team that has a pulse. And I think this game has shootout potential. Washington's defense is pretty slash bad, but their offense can score at will. In Ohio State's, I'm not saying their defense is bad. I think their offense is really good, so they'll be able to capitalize on Washington. And I think Washington will be able to get what they can against against Ohio State. Because I saw in the Texas game when Ohio State played them, Texas had opportunities. They just didn't have the quarterback that could make those count. I think Damon Williams will have the opportunities and he will make them count in Seattle.
Demond
I'm excited for
Williams,
that game.
he's really good. He's really good. I think that now we
She's
did say this
special.
about Dampier, and now maybe Dampier was hurt.
I think Williams is a lot. His
I
talent
agree.
profile
He's
is so much
better.
better.
He's better Dampier. He slings the rock better. Like he's got a better arm.
He has some zip on his balls.
Yes. Denzel Boston, one of the best receivers in the country. We kind of talked about that in our first ever podcast. And then they have two quality backs who have rushed the ball very effectively this year in Jonah Coleman and no, that's the quarterback. Got you guys. Demon Williams has also ran the ball real effectively. So I like that pick, Arch. My pick without those two, with those two off the board, because again, I'm gonna hate watch Penn State. Um, the LSU Ole Miss game. I'm a Trinidad Chambliss guy. I've been that guy, and it's like Brian Kelly's LSU has like the Clemson win. No longer are we that impressed. Um, and then they play a dead Florida offense and beg them to win the game, but their quarterback throws 5 interceptions. Um, so like this is kind of like, okay, LSU, like what are you made of? Are you the fourth best team in the country? And also this could be the Ole Miss spot of like maybe this is because everybody thought Ole Miss last year was in prime position to make a run for the SEC. Maybe it's this year. I really believe in Trinidad Chambliss. Lane Kiffin is kind of still looking for that signature Ole Miss season. And this would be a crazy win. He's still looking for a signature win a little bit, and this would be a great win. And they get him at home. Whit Weeks and Lane Kiffin's daughter are supposedly dating. It came out this week.
Per his
Which,
daughter.
huh?
Per his daughter.
Yeah, per his daughter. Um, and so this is the defense. This is the LSU captain going against the play calling of his girlfriend's dad. Um, but I'm a Trinity Chambliss guy, so I'm gonna pick Ole Miss in that game. Spoiler, but that's a game I'm pretty interested in.
Yeah. Little backstory on the Whit Week saga with listener of the podcast, one of my buddies, Carter Fowler. Shout out him.
Thanks,
Whit Weeks
Carter.
is from Oconee County, which is right outside of Athens, and he went to Oconee County. And he's friends with him. That's apparently been going on for a while. I knew about this, but I just didn't know if there were ever. I just didn't know. I thought it was like something that it was like people knew.
Could have dropped that. Could have
But
reported it here first.
yeah, but I just thought it was like something that like because I'd seen some posts about it, but Carter ended up telling me. So shout out Carter, friend of the program, friend of the pod. He's always texting about
Thanks,
what
Carter.
we have to
Thanks,
say.
Carter.
So yeah, so
I'm man.
he'll let us know when they probably break up or something. We'll see.
Um, Sam, what do you like on the? We kind of took a lot of the juice off the board, but do you want to carry
Yes,
water
I
for?
will.
Okay, yeah.
Going off to the appetizer of the weekend, Arizona State TCU Friday
Oh,
night, 8
great
p.m.,
call.
9 p.m.
Great
A little
call.
who gets I said it earlier in the pod. Who gets the front track to Dallas?
Yo.
Should be a sweet game. I love that game. It's just gonna be a nice fun watch. It's just gonna be a nice appetizer because we're gonna have all day to watch the Ryder Cup, and then we'll get to dip into a little Florida State, Virginia, and TCU, Arizona State. I think that it's going to be interesting to see what TCU is really made of in this spot on the road at Arizona State, who's laying 2.5 against the ranked Frogs. So yeah, pumped for that game. Another game that I think is way flying under the radar is Tennessee, Mississippi State in Stark
Mm.
Vegas. Tennessee's laying 7.5. And I believe I saw something that was Tennessee in their last few road games with Heupel is like 4-5. So something to keep an eye on there after Mississippi State won at home against Arizona State earlier in the year behind the arm of Blake Shapen. So something to keep an eye on there at your 4:15 slot Eastern time. Sorry, I'm reading off Central Time.
Yeah. Dude, it's like the big I want to go back to your first like the TCU Arizona State game. The Big 12 quarterback play is like sneaky good. Hoover at TCU is good, Robertson at Baylor's good, Levitt at Arizona State has been good. Hammond at Texas Tech looked good, and that's the best team in the Big 12. He's their quarterback right now.
How much stock do you put into that compared to much lesser defenses than Big Ten and SEC?
Well, I do think there's Big 12 quarterbacks that are really good in the NFL. And I think that's kind of like the telling sign of like if you are really good. I do think like you don't have to play quarterback at a SEC school to be just a gunslinger. Like Baker Mayfield would play a Big 12 schedule like every year, and then like he would still play Georgia and then sling the rock all over the field. So I do think I actually kind of like Big 12 quarterbacks because the games are more on them. Like the teams are willing to just be like, hey, we need you to win us this football game. Because the quarterback on Big 12 teams, a lot of them are really good. Um, and they're playing on inferior teams comparatively to like the roster talent of Big Ten and SEC teams. So like Sawyer Robertson, like Baylor literally just lets him cook. Like they're just like, all right, Sawyer, like this is your game. And
I
it's
love that
pretty,
take.
yeah, it's pretty fun to watch. Like I'm a huge Big 12 quarterback guy. I mean, if you saw in the Josh Hoover like against UNC, I mean UNC's a corpse, but I mean, dude, he was awesome.
There's something to be said about quarterbacks. You mentioned it. Quarterbacks needing to just answer scores all game, and a lot of the game is relying on you and whether you're able to move the ball effectively all game. And you can't really let up when you're a quarterback in the Big 12 because you typically need like 30, 40 points to win a game. So I really like that take because I think that's an underrated part of leading offense is understanding it's going to be on you. You're going to have to answer scores. And where else do you have to do that more than the Big 12?
Yeah, like the Big 12, and then if you're Maryland, like those are the only time you're asked to do like those things. Which is why
Like
it's kind
Drew
of
Aller doesn't have to. They don't have to put up 30 points a game to win most of the time.
yeah. The only SEC team that like truly relies so much on the quarterback, and he's got one of the best defenses, but he has no run game is like Mateer. You see them be like kind of put the offense like in his hands, but you know, yeah, having a run game and a great defense like it makes football a lot different.
Ask Cade Klubnik.
Yeah, ask him, dude. I'll ask a lot of college quarterbacks. There's guys that their college careers have been derailed from being in tough situations. So I guess we'll
Let's
no,
make
no,
some picks.
dude, yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to start with these big games. Um, and I guess, dude, this is the most interesting, and this is where we can really get into it. Oregon, Penn State. Penn State's 3.5 point favorite. Let's hear it, Sam. Let's fucking get me going. Fire me up.
So here it is, the Penn State whiteout. They finally got their big whiteout after whining for the last 4 years about Big Noon Kickoff, even though they get paid a lot of money from the Big Ten and by Fox. Even though they've dodged the Pitt Panthers every year, but they want to play them. They could have had that whiteout whenever you wanted. You could have had that whiteout whenever you wanted. But you have your whiteout against Illinois and Washington and the corpse of Auburn, and you win those. But now Oregon comes into town, and you're only getting 3.5. And they're wearing mummy cleats that glow in the dark. And there's rumors out of Eugene that they're going in all white. So give me the Ducks, baby. That's all the analysis I'm going to give. Just give me the Ducks. Give me big time Drew Aller to throw a Steven late in the game to just silence the Penn State whiteout with small infiltrations of green throughout the crowd. Give me them leaving in sorrow and pain as they yet to win the big game, and the Ducks go quacking back to Eugene.
That gave me chills, Sam. Good job. I'm gonna take a little more. Sam did what we all wanted. I'm gonna give a slightly more analytical uh take. Uh, when you look at the statistical profiles, even with playing literally no one, Penn State's offense is not that impressive. It's really not. Like points wise, they're top 20 in points, but in no other in yards, passing yards, rush yards, or third down percentage are they in the top 40. So like I'm not, and they haven't played anyone. So you would expect this to be a little bit more skewed, their statistical profile, because like Oregon, who also hasn't played anybody, is top 10 is top 30 in every category, top 10 in almost all of them. Their statistical profiles. So, and this is I'm just talking about the offense. So, I believe in Penn State's defense. Like they've earned my trust to know like they're gonna put a good performance out there and they're gonna give the offense a chance to win this game. I don't believe that Penn State is going to be able to execute at the level they are going to have to execute, and I don't think they have the best quarterback in this game. Um, I think more at Oregon. He's a redshirt freshman, I believe. He sat behind Gabriel last year. He played really well. He has 11 touchdowns, only one interception. Um, they're not going to ask him to do anything crazy. They're going to run the football. And Penn State's going to have to prove to me that they're going to execute on offense and like score 30 and win 30-26 because that's probably what you're going to have to do in this game.
Yeah, two teams that haven't really played a soul yet. But I want to talk about one thing about this Penn State offense. And you talked about the statistical profiles of both and Penn State's lackluster rankings. There was a big emphasis in the preseason about returning production for teams like Penn State, teams like Clemson, teams like Illinois. A lot of talk about why these teams were going to be so good this year was because of the returning production that they had coming back, more experience, just expecting them to have taken another step and reach another level that they haven't been able to previously. And we've noticed already with Illinois and Clemson both playing legit teams so far that that can be a bit of a fallacy for predicting whether a team's going to be good or not. And I think this Penn State team could be another example of that. When has Penn State ever had a super exciting, explosive passing attack where they've been able to control a game through the air? I can't think of one, especially in the Drew Aller era. We've watched this Penn State offense struggle in big games for a really long time, especially with Aller as the quarterback. Why would anything be different in this game? I've watched a few of their games against the teams they played so far. They played Villanova, FIU, Nevada. The offensive line, yes, a lot of returning production there, a lot of starts coming back, but similar to Clemson, there's not really it's not like there's first round guards or tackles on that roster. They're just players that have a lot of college football experience who are effective players, but aren't going to be able to elevate their game to really make a big difference for this Penn State team. Oregon, on the other hand, I just want to talk about their offensive tackle situation real quick. They replaced two NFL level tackles from last year. Josh Connerly obviously went in the first round to the Commanders. They also had a Johnny Cornelius, who I think he's on the Cowboys right now. I believe he was a late round pick. But Dan Lanning went into the portal and brought in two guys that profiled the exact same way. Isaiah World from Nevada, huge 6'8" guy. He's like 320, 330, just really stout in protection and can move guys in the run game.
They've got a
He's going to be a first round tackle this year. And then
Texas Texas State, right?
their right tackle, Alex Harkey's from Texas State, also a mauler. Just really excited to see them against Dennis Sutton, too, from Penn State, who is a really good edge for them. He's the sack master of the Penn State defense. So that's going to be an exciting matchup to watch. But with all that being said, I think it's hard to get a true feel of this game just because they haven't played a lot of teams yet. But I think Oregon's going to have a pretty significant advantage at the line of scrimmage. And I love Dan Lanning in these spots. First big test since the Rose Bowl last year. They're not going to come out flat after getting beat like that to end their season last year. And they want to firmly establish themselves in the national championship picture with a signature win. What better way to do that than taking down the Nittany Lions in the whiteout game in Happy Valley? So I'll take the Ducks to pull off a big road win here.
Oh, by the way, Luke Bowser, throw in the comments what you think about this game for Penn State. We need, because this is not a Penn State podcast, but we want some input. Go, Caleb.
Um, this is gonna make me sick to my stomach. Oh man, they really made me do this. I'm gonna take Penn State here. I think from the spot of them coming off of a bye, I think that although Oregon was beaten up on the corpse of Oregon State in the Civil War, so it's not that big of a deal. I think there's something you said about coming off of a bye with Oregon traveling to the Eastern time zone. I think that could have an effect. I think that whenever the closest thing that Oregon's played to Penn State so far this year has been Northwestern. And Northwestern, I mean, they covered the number. They don't really care. Oregon had their way with them. But Northwestern's able to run the ball and control the line of scrimmage a little better than I thought like a team that was that much worse than Oregon would be able to have at certain times. So I think Penn State is kind of going to watch that film and kind of see what Northwestern did and what they could kind of replicate for them. Like I said, God, I hate James Franklin and Drew Aller. Just I think of both quarterbacks like Dante Moore, pretty unproven to the certain point. Drew Aller has been proven that he's just pretty average. I guess I'm going to back that. Not a lot of conviction. I just if it's not now, it's never for Penn State, and I'm gonna bite the bullet with them. So give me Penn State.
I I want to say one thing about James Franklin because I have kind of switched my opinion on it. I kind of like James Franklin.
What is he rated?
I kind of like James Franklin, and the reason is because people are like he's such an asshole. Like he's whatever. They call him a dick. First off, do we actually know James Franklin? Like none of us have his phone number. Like I'm not sure how much of a like to the media or whatever. So people like call him an asshole. They say he like doesn't win the big game, and like I get it, but like I think it's he kind of sticks to his guns, and I respect that. And I respect that when you're like leading a college football program, you're fighting complacency every day, especially at the top level of college football. Like your kids are getting paid millions of dollars. Like the media will tell them they're awesome, and like every day when you're playing Villanova, you have to convince a group of like 18 to 22-year-olds that like they need to be putting in like the maximum amount of effort in practice because like it's not about playing Villanova. Like like we're trying to cultivate something here far past like what this game is going to do. And you have to do that every single day, like from winter lifts to like third down and 10 against Oregon when you're down 3 in the fourth quarter. So, um, I kind of respect like the culture he's built at Penn State. And although they haven't really got like that signature win, like, and maybe they won't get it this year. Um, I think the fire Franklin thing's like a little bit ridiculous from Penn State fans, like because he recruits really well. He doesn't call plays, so he's like a CEO coach, and um, you're only as good as your quarterback plays sometimes, and um, where is it? The Pennsylvania is not the recruiting state it used to be. When Joe Montana and Jim Kelly, and when you could get like those type of guys and like LeVar Arrington, like PA is no longer that state. It's probably like 10 or 9 in terms of college football high school rankings, maybe. But all other states have like far eclipsed. So they got to go recruit the DMV and they got to go recruit Ohio and Michigan. They got to go to Florida. Like they're recruiting nationally and they do a good job. They get all the best kids from Pennsylvania. A lot of them they do a good job recruiting, but they can't just like go in the backyard and pull a bunch of kids. So I kind of respect that's kind of like my James Franklin take. As I've like aged, like I've like gained a lot of respect for him and the program he runs.
Yeah. If you don't mind, can I give a second of analysis?
Dude, love it.
Like actual thought about this game other than my emotional. What I think comes down to like some of these games, and I think you saw it a lot last year, is how Dan Lanning is very much able to elevate his team regardless of the environment. And I think that this is going to be one of those times where Oregon kind of feeds off of the crowd, and that like this whiteout's going to motivate them almost as much as it's going to motivate Penn State. I also think that um, there is a lot more noise than we're hearing about the Perbula versus Aller decision. I think there's a lot of noise about that going on right now in Happy Valley that like we're just not hearing and seeing. Like I just was looking at some South Carolina stuff today and saw a whole article about why Penn State made the wrong decision if they made the wrong decision. And I think that's going to get to Aller's head. And I think that in a type of game like this, if Oregon's able to just slow down the run a tiny bit to get Penn State to those 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 6, to almost like not obvious, but like continual passing downs, I think that you're going to kind of see something that happened in that Notre Dame game last year where Aller tries to kind of take over. And what I think the biggest question mark is going to be, is Aller going to be able to make the big throw to be a passer in this game and establish himself as a passer throughout this game? And I don't think he's going to be able to do that. I think you're going to see a little bit of hero ball out of him, especially if this game is close towards the end. Um, but I do agree with Arch that watching that Oregon game, I was shocked with how their line of scrimmage played. But I also think that like this is such a big Dan landing spot that he's gonna be blaring Seven Nation Army or whatever, Kirkencraft the whole week in practice. He's gonna say like us gladiators, when we hear that, we're trained to kill, like that whole Dan Lanning spiel, and it works for them. I think this could turn into almost like a pressure cooker game for Penn State, where if like they're down by 10 in the third quarter, like the pressure is going to kind of get to them. You could see maybe a tense crowd. So yeah, I just think there's a lot more pressure on Penn State in this game than there is Oregon. I think Oregon's just going to be able to go out and play loose. I think you're going to see a tight Penn State early, even though it's at home.
I kind of
It's
like.
also been a
Oh, you
it's been a
go.
while since Penn State has had this much expectation surrounding the national championship picture. They're they're typically a top 10 team, but this is kind of the year they've circled and penciled in as this is the year this is our best shot. So there's also that pressure going into this one as well that I don't think Oregon really ever faces that pressure like that just because they're kind of always stacked and in a better position.
Uh, Drew Allar. This is the to go to your returning production point is what I'm excited to see like what type of Drew Allar do we get? Are we going to see a improved Drew Allar? Is he gonna be a better decision maker, or is we gonna see better accuracy, or are we gonna get the same production Drew Eller? It's kind of like the Cade Klubnik thing. Like you haven't seen a ton of growth throughout like his career. Whether that's his fault or the coaches or whatever, the programs develop quarterbacks, and like we'll see what Penn State does in this quarterback developing cycle. So if he's really good, like that would really change my opinion on like what Penn State is. Um, but we've talked enough about Penn State and Oregon. Next game we're going to get into is the Bama Georgia game. Like I said earlier, Bama can be forgiven for all of its sins if they win this one. It's in Athens, I believe, right, Arch?
Mhm.
Are you going to be BOG?
I will be in Athens, probably not in the game, unless somebody, a gracious supporter of the podcast, wants to buy me a ticket.
3.5. Georgia's 3.5 point favorite. Arch, take it away.
Well, this game has me sick to my stomach. It's kind of the narrative is the whole Georgia can't get over the hump with Alabama. You've seen it. You saw it last year. You saw it 2 years ago. Um, Now you're in Athens. You kind of have no excuse. I mean, this is the most talented team Kirby's ever had. Not the most experienced one, but like blue chip ratings and all that. Most talented team he's ever had. Probably the most gettable Bama's ever been with DeBoer. You got the perfect storm brewing at home. You just came off of a thrilling victory versus Tennessee. Bama just got off destroying Wisconsin. Both teams off of a bye week. Um, like I said, I'm terrified. This game has me sick to my stomach. I could see this game going so many different ways, and I don't really know how it's going to happen. I think the key to the game is going to be Georgia's receivers. I think Georgia's receivers and also Georgia's I guess I'd say their tackles. If they're able to protect a little better than they did versus Tennessee, which I hope they do because we're going to have another week to get healthy. The running game should open up a little more. Gunner should have some more time, and Gunner's first night big game start against Alabama, the team that he used to be committed to at one time. This is terrifying. Obviously, for a first year starting quarterback, it's going to be tough. But you also have first year starting quarterback on the other side, and Ty Simpson in his first at road atmosphere in Athens. It's going to be a fantastic game. Like I said, it's terrifying because if Georgia loses again, it's going to be another year of what could have been. Kirby can't beat Bama. Georgia can't get over the hump. Georgia has a Bama problem, which I think are all pretty valid to this point. But I cannot stray away from what I know. Give me Georgia, and I think that we are going to beat them by 2 scores.
Hmm.
Mm. Mm. Okay. I think Georgia wins this game. I'm a Georgia believer. They're my national champ. They're at home. Gunnar Stockton and the fellas. Kirby, although they have struggled against Bama, um, just because they haven't beat Bama doesn't mean they can't beat Bama. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that verbiage before. Um, but yeah, no, I like the dogs here. I wonder how they run the ball, and then how Gunnar Stockton plays. Like the Gunnar Stockton, Kai Simpson. Don't you guys feel like they're kind of like, all right, they're in like the same realm of like quarterback play, like kind of veteran savvy. Like they can run it, they can throw it. Like I don't know. I feel like they're kind of in the same ish tier, and it's going to depend on what their team gives them around them for them to be successful. Uh, but I think they're both good quarterbacks. Like I'm not taking anything away from them. Would you guys kind of agree with like that sentiment? Um,
Yeah.
so that's going to kind of be cool to like see how that plays out. Um, Bama has looked better, but Georgia's look great. And I think Kirby makes a little bit of a statement from his coaching staff and the Georgia coaching staff at large, not letting teams do like Tennessee hung 40 on Georgia. I don't know how if if Bama gets to 40, like I don't know if like Georgia wins this football game, but I don't foresee Bama getting to even 30. I think this is kind of a statement game from Kirby and his staff. Luke or
I
Sam.
guess.
Yeah, I
One of
mean,
you. It doesn't matter.
like I keep going back and forth on this game because, like, in one end it's the Bama Georgia can't beat Bama. On the other end, Bama looked really bad in week one, and they really haven't played anyone since then. And I don't want to give a lot of credit for that Wisconsin win because Wisconsin looks dead. Um, but what I do keep coming back to is just looking at Bama historically and how they've kind of struggled against running quarterbacks, and that's kind of what Florida State was able to do against them and exploit against them. And I don't think Gunnar Stockton is going to pose that same threat. And I do worry about Georgia's defense. While they will be at home, which will help, I do worry about their defense. And even though Bama hasn't played one, this offense is going to be a lot more confident than they were. But I do think that Georgia is finally going to make that step. And I like keep thinking this is going to be that Georgia team that finally comes back to just being dominant overall. I just can't shake the spread being this tight. And I think Bama's in desperation mode. I think DeBoer's in desperation mode. And I just have this feeling that it's going to be Bama. And I think there's going to be a play in the fourth quarter that we're going to look back at, whether it's a turnover, a big fourth down conversion that is going to be the difference maker. And I'm going to take Bama in a close.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this game. The Georgia offense looked really good against Tennessee, and they stayed committed to the run game the whole time, which helped Gunner out. And I thought he was pretty accurate and opportunistic when he was asked to throw the ball. And that's a solid Tennessee defense. Definitely still questions surrounding the right tackle spot. We'll see if Ernest Green can go or if it's going to be Bo Hewley, who I thought offered them a little bit off the bench against Tennessee. But at the same time, Alabama didn't really generate a lot of pressure or stop the run against Florida State. So it might be a bit of an easier spot playing against this Alabama team instead of Tennessee, especially at home, even if that right tackle position is a little softer for Georgia. Also, I want to see if Georgia can generate a little bit more pressure against Ty Simpson. That's where he seemed to struggle the most against Florida State. And Florida State was also um, they were really effective in stopping the run of Alabama too. So if Georgia can follow that blueprint and generate some pressure against Ty Simpson, I think that puts him in a bit of a tough position, especially on the road in one of the first big starts he's had. I guess Florida State counts too as a big start on the road. But at the end of the day, I think Arch can speak to this more, but I feel like after Georgia plays a nail biter type game, they typically come out the next time they play a little hungry, a little more opportunistic. And based off the fact of what happened at the end of last year's game and with them playing such a nail biter against Tennessee where they easily could have lost, I think Georgia tries to make a statement in this game at home. And I think with all the implications that they're able to do that and Kirby finds a way to find it. Kirby finds an edge for this Georgia team here, and they're able to exploit a piece of Alabama that's been vulnerable so far. So all that being said, I like Georgia here, and I kind of agree with Arch. I like Georgia and them having at least a 2-score lead at the end of the game.
Sweet. For the next couple of games, what we're gonna do, one person take the lead, and then everybody give their picks. So for Ohio State, Washington, Arch, what are you expecting out of this game?
I kind of said it when I said I was going to really like this game. I think you're going to see a lot of offense. I don't think Washington's going to have an answer for Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, Brandon Ennis, or basically anybody on their offense for that matter.
That
But I also
back
don't think Ohio.
Donaldson, WVU
Yeah,
transfer, he's damn
yeah,
good.
see, yeah. I think Sand's gonna have a good game. You haven't really seen him ever since the Texas game. You really have no idea how he's played. Kind of hard to glean from playing the Ohio's of the world and Grambling states, but
Cool.
they're off of a bye, which I think is going to help them. I think that's a tough spot for Washington, but they just played the Apple Cup, and Washington State this year is very bad. So that was kind of just like a tune-up game. They scored 59. They gave up 20 to 25, I think. I'm expecting a lot of offense, like I said. I think Washington's going to be able to I think it's going to get uncomfortable for Ohio State. I don't know if Washington's going to be able to compete and win outright, but I think they're going to make it to where in the fourth quarter it's going to be a one-score game, and Ohio State is really going to feel an uncomfortable environment in Seattle, which is one of the more underrated atmospheres in all of college football. It gets loud. You're traveling to the West time zone to play a team. I wish it was a night game for Washington, but it's going to be their it's going to be a 12:30 kick in Seattle. And you know what? Give me Washington, actually. Just give me them outright. Keep the points. The Huskies get a big one. Jed Fish's first statement game as a Husky.
I like that, Arch. I got Ohio State, but I think Washington covers.
Yeah, I don't think
You want to add that?
watch.
Sorry.
Go
You
ahead.
want to add that to the pick 'em this game?
No, that's unfair to you. It's
No?
an 8.5 point spread.
Fair.
Yeah, I think that Washington doesn't necessarily have to win this game to kind of prove that they're in the hunt, the Big Ten for that third or fourth playoff spot. I do agree with Arch. I think they're going to make it a little bit uncomfortable, but I don't think their defense is going to have an answer. Or even if they're able to bracket Jeremiah Smith and shut him down for a little bit, I think the Carnell Tate will just eat, and I think the Sane will eat. And I give me Ohio State. I just don't think Washington's defense can be able to push back at all.
Yeah, pretty much agree there. I'm going to pick Ohio State in this game as well, just based off, I think, like everyone's been saying, their offense is probably going to be able to have a field day. Just another point too. It's kind of sad looking back to 2023, how competitive the Apple Cup was and how much fun that game was with Washington trying to stay undefeated and make it to the playoff versus the state that honestly Oregon and Oregon State are in as well. That those games are so uncompetitive and they're just
They're
little
not even.
blips in the
They're like
schedule.
not even
Yeah,
rivalry games. I mean, they
exactly. Yeah.
are, but the talent
But
can
it's like
probably
you're
kill
playing
you.
like the beat up competition it's like when Clemson plays Furman, like not exactly to that level, but it's pretty sad how far that those teams have fallen just the last 2 years. But yeah, I'll go with Ohio State.
Mhm. Arch, we can actually. I mean, I'm presuming it's Bama, Georgia, Oregon, Penn State, LSU, Ole Miss, and then we need a fourth game. So if you want that to be the fourth game, we can roll with that.
I'd rather do that
Oh,
over
dude,
Iowa,
TCU,
Illinois.
Arizona State.
Yeah, I like TCU Arizona State.
Uh,
All right. I got no qualms. Um, Auburn, Texas A&M, and when you want to give something short and then make the picks, Sam, you got that?
Yeah, I'll do a quick short one. First off, I don't know if you guys have seen Texas A&M's going vintage Adidas for these ones. They have some pretty sweet unis that they're going to wear in this game.
Uni guy, I love it.
Texas A&M though has looked awesome, and I expect them to kind of roll here over Auburn. I think that their run game is just going to be able to pound Auburn after a physical and kind of demoralizing loss because it's one of those where Auburn kind of thought they got hosed. I think Texas A&M is going to be able to just impose their will in the ground game and force Arnold to make throws, which I think he'll be able to actually make some throws here. So Cam Coleman, but give me A&M here. It's a what 7 point spread, 6.5, 6.5. Give me A&M in this spot at home in their first real big home game of the year. Should be a pretty ruckus Kyle Field.
Yeah, the image of Texas A&M receivers just running all over the field against Notre Dame is ingrained in my head still. Marcel Reed and that receiving core really fun to watch in that game. And Auburn hasn't shown me anything to believe that they'll be able to stop any of that Texas A&M explosion, especially with Texas A&M's ability to run the ball as well. And third and Arnold hasn't been super profitable for Auburn up to this point. And I think they'll be in those situations a lot once again. So I'll go with Texas A&M here.
Yeah, I like A&M.
I'm gonna go A&M, but I'm gonna go in like a very close game. I think our offense is gonna be able to generate some explosives that they lacked a week ago. I think Arnold probably plays better, offensive line probably. So I think A&M in a close one.
I feel bad for Hugh Freeze. I think he's actually he's done a decent job with Auburn. They're probably going to pull the plug on him after this year if it ends up being 5-6, 6-6. But my question is like, what's he supposed to do? And I get Auburn, like they have a lot of pride and stuff, but I'd let it run a little bit longer. You don't agree, Arch? That's
You
okay.
I do.
fools.
No, I do. I just think his biggest fault was hanging his hat on Peyton Thorne for 2 years.
Yeah,
For your
yeah.
first 2 years
Well,
of the
but
rebuild, like kind of.
I also think remember the reports of like they didn't want to spend the money getting like a big time quarterback because like they didn't know if their roster was ready. Like, are you sure that was Hugh Freeze's decision or was that the boosters and higher ups
Um,
at Auburn being like, do you really think he was like, I'm gonna literally choose not to pay a quarterback? Like, if he didn't have financial constraints, like, why not? Who cares? Like, I want to win football games.
yeah. Well, I have the inside scoop from last summer when I worked at Georgia Southern. I think I told y'all Hugh Freeze went over his NIL budget last year by a large amount and had to ask donors for more money to
Mm,
build around the like the Cam Coleman's and all them. And Auburn's owners were not necessarily happy because they were just coming off the Peyton Thorne year one experience and they hadn't even seen year two yet. So they're probably even more upset after that. Yeah, I just think that there wasn't the quarterback portal talent that they thought there was going to be this cycle. I'm interested to see though what they do with the other transfer, Ashton Daniels or Deuce Knight. If Jackson Arnold is like, if you're at the point where you have to do something else, I think you can honestly see them get some real run soon.
yeah, we'll see. They got a tough schedule. Next
Yeah,
game is Indiana Iowa. Indiana's only a 7.5 point favorite going into Iowa. For those who did not know, Iowa actually showed a little bit of life last week on a Friday. They were down in the fourth quarter to Rutgers, and Mark Grabanowski threw the ball. He ran for 3 touchdowns during the game. They threw for 186 yards, which, dude, that might as well be 400 for a no more quarterback. So Iowa has shown like a little bit of life. Obviously, that defense can ball. Um, I think Vegas is still not properly calibrated what Indiana is this year. Um, I've whatever. I think the 7.5. I think Indiana covers, wins outright. Like I think Indiana makes another statement game, maybe like 30-12 or like something like that. So yeah, I'm pretty in on Indiana and what I saw. And Iowa, I mean, Altmaier and Illinois' offense is probably better than what Iowa's going to run out there on Saturday. So
yeah. I thought it was
Yeah,
funny.
no.
This game opened like 3 point spread before the Illinois game, Indiana game. So I was expecting it to go up, but to only go up to like 5 to 5.5, it's gotten steamed up because people are pretty smart with their money. They're going to back Indiana. Interested to see if there's still some magic in Kinnick Stadium. I know Iowa in the past has always had these like weird games where the opposing team comes in and like nothing's working. But I just can't see it. I think Indiana rolls, and I think Sig is gonna like I said, he tries to kill every single one of these Big Ten teams. He's gonna try and kill them too.
Yeah, I'll take Iowa spread here. I think Indiana wins, but I will take Iowa spread here. I believe in the Kinnick Stadium. I wish this game was at night, but yeah, I think Kinnick Stadium is so hard to play. And Charlie, I'm actually not surprised by the spread that much, to be honest. I think that this is kind of raking Iowa similarly to how they had Illinois. Um, yeah, I'll take Indiana to win, but in a close game.
The Rutgers Iowa game from last Friday was pretty fun to watch. I caught a little bit of that. Just a lot of explosion on offense, which was a little surprising in the first
An
half. But
overfest.
They were just
yeah,
Iowa's just been saving it in, keep it off tape for this
they're
thing.
still
Yeah,
saving the offense.
they didn't
But
want to release it in the Cyhawk Bowl because that game
yeah,
doesn't
I
matter
don't.
enough.
They needed it for conference play.
it's not a
Yep.
Big Ten game. Yeah,
There's not. I don't think there's a lot of analysis that needs to be done here. I just like Arch was saying, Sig always tries to run it up against Big Ten teams that have been around for a while. So not seeing anything different in this one here. So I think Indiana plays pretty well and dominates.
All right, Duska, quickly keep the mic. LSU Ole
Yeah.
Miss.
LSU Ole Miss. I don't have a ton of pregame analysis on this one, but we've talked about LSU before. Clemson win, impressive in the moment, but looking back, probably not as exciting or show a sign of what LSU actually is as a team against good competition. Same thing can be said for the Florida game. Florida's defense is good, but the LSU offense was definitely a liability in that one. So still didn't get to glean very much information after that game. So this is a good one here at Ole Miss. I like the coaching matchup here, and I'd give a slight edge to Lane Kiffin. I just his Ole Miss teams have seemed to be able to show up in these spots a little more. Both inconsistent, both have suffered big losses on in seasons where they've had a lot of expectation. But it's fun when these two get to battle it out. Ole Miss, Trinidad Chambliss, he's been really good stepping in for Austin Simmons the last couple of weeks. LSU defense is definitely a bit different caliber compared to Tulane and Arkansas. So we'll be interested to see if he's able to scale up that level of play against this LSU defense. And then the implications of Whit Weeks and Lane Kiffin. I think Lane Kiffin might just try to put Whit Weeks in a box, isolate him a lot, and try to make sure that he has a bad game potentially, just because of everything going on there. But at the end of the day, I'd give Ole Miss a slight edge just because I think their offense has proven to be a little more consistent and a little more explosive than LSU at times. It seems like Nussmeier's still nursing a bit of an injury there as well, so I don't think much will change for LSU offensively. So I like Ole Miss here. I think it'll be a close game just because both teams have solid defenses. So we'll be interested to see how it plays out. But yeah, I'll take Ole Miss at home.
I got Ole
Yeah, I
Miss.
agree. Yeah, Ole Miss. Little nugget there, 25-3 in the last 28 home games. The Deuce fought Hemingway. Um, yeah, little revenge from last year too.
Yeah, give me Ole Miss.
And then let's pick these games. Notre Dame at Arkansas. Give me Notre Dame. I like
I
them
think
getting
Notre Dame get right spot.
Yep, they're 0-2.
1 and 2.
I mean, yeah, true. True, they did play. But
Yeah, I like Notre Dame too.
I like Arkansas. Pennsylvania.
really, Notre Dame drops to 1-3. Taylor Green fest. I mean, hey, Texas A&M threw the rock all over him. Taylor Green can throw the rock. It's not the craziest thing.
Man,
USC, yeah, USC, Illinois. Give me the Trojans. I'm kind of in on the Trojans. I mean, they're my favorite receiving core. So I think Mackay, Lemon, and the fellas get loose against Illinois.
Yeah, Illinois hasn't really done anything to defeat the fraud watch allegations. So I think another tough game for them here, USC, and I like I like USC in this one.
yeah, I think USC just has the juniors in the job. I think they're just going to out athlete Illinois and route to a big win.
Give me the Trojans.
We're all in line with the Trojans. Do you guys have your super dog picks?
Yes.
I do.
I do.
Okay. Arch, lead us off.
And no surprise, we're taking the Huskies. Washington plus 8.5.
Love that. And this guy's got conviction. He took him out right. So major props to you. Duska, what you got for us?
But we got a fun game uh in Oklahoma, sorry, in Oklahoma this week. Tulane and John Summerall are traveling to Tulsa to take on Trey Lamb
Love
and
this.
take on the Trey Lamb and what's Tulsa's mascot? Sorry.
The Golden Hurricane.
Yes.
Unprofessional. The Golden Hurricane. But we got to play against Trey Lamb a couple of times at Elon. He's a big game hunter. When he was at ETSU last year, they almost took down North Dakota State at home, which would have been just an insane win, unprecedented FCS levels. But this is a type of game where Trey Lamb can get his guys up and ready to play. It's at home, so they get that advantage as well. I'll take them to cover the 15.5 point spread.
My super dog, we will be traveling right back to the beautiful state of Oklahoma, just in the Stillwater region, behind an interim head coach in
Oh,
Doug Meacham after the firing of Mike Gundy. For those who do not know, Doug Meacham is the interim head coach. He is a former offensive coordinator at TCU, Houston, and Kansas, and he played for Oklahoma State in 1983 and through 87 as an offensive lineman. I think these guys just have passion for their school. They're going to get them fired up. These guys don't have that much to play for, but they're going to ride behind the former Cowboy. Give me what are the Pokes? Give me the Pokes.
Mm,
Plus 20 and a half.
nice, nice. Sam, I'm a little bit doing what you're doing. Um, Virginia Tech goes, I believe they go to NC. They
NC
do. They
State.
go to Raleigh. They're 10.5 point underdogs. Their coach, Fry, fired last week. And then in a get right spot, Kyron Drones has 300 passing yards and 4 total touchdowns against the Wofford Terriers.
So much
It might be
potential.
one.
And so I don't know why it just looked juicy on the board to me. Yeah, the Tech keeps it close. I don't know. They got to. I think they like might win like 4 or 5 games this year. So maybe this will be one they pick up. But pretty much when you're looking at for the board of super dogs, you're just looking at guys teams with double digit spreads and trying to convince yourself like, why do these guys have a chance? So I've convinced myself that Virginia Tech has a chance in this one. Um, so I'm backing Kyron Drones. Who would have thunk it? Who would have
He
thunk
does
it?
have a lot of potential though, so that's
He
good.
does. He
Good
does.
pick.
He does. He does. So
Year 5.
yeah, year
Quick,
5.
quick question before we are done. On the we we didn't talk at all about this, and I just want to know what you guys think. Do you give any substance to Florida State traveling to Charlottesville on Friday?
Yes.
Only 6.5 point favorites. Probably the
Virginia plus
biggest game.
7.5 is going to be on Arch Madness.
Ooh.
Virginia has like
Yeah,
one of the
is
best
that,
offenses in America so far.
yeah, this is their
Who's
biggest
who's
home game
who's
in
quarterback in the Cavs?
Chandler Morris, North
Chandler
Texas
Morris.
Oh
transfer.
yes, yes, yes. He was at
He's
TCU,
been
right?
around the block. TCU.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think he hit
yeah.
all this. I think he hit all the Texas State schools before he ventured
Wow,
east.
UVA. I did not know they were doing that.
This is the biggest game in school history in like a long time.
Oh my gosh, their offense is top 20 in every major category.
Kazim Moore statement game.
Dude, they're averaging 564 total yards a game.
Yeah.
I think Florida State's on like major upset.
That's gonna be a fun watch on Friday night.
Wow.
Yeah. The most casual person you know is also saying Florida State 7-point favorite. That's easy, and they're adding it to like some chalk parlay. And I'm not saying that it's guaranteed that like Virginia is going to do something, but whenever it's like people are saying that, you're just like, you just don't get it.
They're not thinking outside the box like you.
No.
The weeknight ACC games are frisky. It's a big look at. There's like a lot that is going right for Virginia.
They play Miami next week, right?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. I just thought the line was weird. That's why I took it. Yeah.
Also, I've been to Scott Stadium, watched UVA play the Tar Heels back in the day, like a long time ago. They lost that one, but electric atmosphere for like a 9-year-old child. I don't know how exciting and how imposing it is for opponents, but it's a good time.
I've seen UVA play twice. I've seen them play Pitt at Pitt, and I've seen them play Navy in the Military Bowl in Annapolis. Um, Navy won the ball. I think Pitt won the game as
Pitt
well.
lost to Virginia when we were at the game.
When were we at the game?
I was at the Pitt UVA game. The Pitt just like urinated away.
Yeah, but we play UVA a lot. I think this was
The
like,
Who's.
We haven't beat UVA in a while.
dude, I think I'm going back to 2014, so that's why.
Maybe.
But yeah, well, guys, this was a great episode. I appreciate you guys doing the pod. It's always one of the best parts of my week. So just look out for some bonus coverage. We'll get to there's some golf on this weekend. That's all I'll say. So that's all I'll say.
And if you have any friends with boots on the ground, send videos our way. We like to share where our fans are at on the weekends.
Yeah, we do. We do.